Hello and welcome to another new episode of Learning Simplified. Today in this tutorial we are going to understand the pseudo class and the pseudo element. Now this seems to be a rather confusing one, the difference between pseudo class and pseudo element, so we would like to elaborate them, but first of all let's know what is a pseudo class and what is a pseudo element. Now in case of a pseudo class, it can be defined as it is a selector that assists in the selection of something that cannot be expressed by a simple selector. Now what should be the exact example of a pseudo class? We have one like this one, hover. This is practically a perfect example of a pseudo class, and another example of it should be focus. So these are the examples, those are being described as a pseudo class, whereas a pseudo element is an element which allows us to create items that do not normally exist in the document there. Now the perfect example of a pseudo element should be like this one, as we have used earlier, this before, or this after. So these sort of things, those will be termed as a pseudo element. But what is the basic difference between this pseudo class and pseudo element? Why we are using it? Now if we observe our code, we can see that a pseudo class is actually the selector which is present inside your HTML document, and you are adding some special effects to it, some special code to it. Whereas a pseudo element is an entirely new element which is being used inside your document to express something which was priorly not present inside your HTML document. You had to create it and you had to use it to create these sort of things. Now if we come back to our pseudo class, it can be classified into three particular structures, such as the first of them should be the dynamic pseudo class, which is this one, hover or focus. The second one should be the structural pseudo class, which can be abbreviated as this first child or this last child. Now you are presently not acquainted with this sort of things. We will be defining about it, we will be discussing on it in our later tutorial, where we will be knowing about various kind of selectors which is being used in CSS. But for the sake of this tutorial, this is the perfect example of a structural pseudo class that has been largely used in CSS. And the last one is UI element pseudo class, as we have used in some particular cases previously, like this disabled or this enabled or this kind of things, those been used in some kind of form fields previously. So there are three kind of items those been used in pseudo classes. They are the dynamic pseudo class, hover and focus is the perfect example of it. The second one is the structural pseudo class. We have first child, last child, these sort of things as the structural pseudo class, and we have disabled or enabled or this sort of things in our UI element pseudo class. In the last case, the pseudo elements, they create effectively new elements, those are not specified in the markup of the document. As we have told you previously that pseudo elements are practically a new kind of element which was not present in your document tree priorly. You had to create it and you had to use it into your document. Now the advantage of pseudo element is cool effects with minimum markup. This reduces the coding in most of the cases. Now what is practically, when should we use this kind of thing? You might have observed that we have used this double colon before this before term or before this particular after term. It is not practically a single term, it should be defined as a double colon. It is not practically a single colon, it should be practically denoted as a double colon. So why should we use single colon and why should we use double colon? According to maximum developers, this is practically the deprecation of its previous versions of browsers. So that is why we use this kind of double colon over here. But in the other sense, I think it should be termed as whenever we are referring some kind of pseudo elements, we should be using this double colon, and whenever we are referring some kind of pseudo classes, we should be using this kind of single column over here. But on the other hand, in the first case, let's put it on into some particular examples to observe what it does or what it doesn't. Now that is why we will be first taking these things off from here. Now if we get back to our project, we can see that this is the paragraph thing that we have encountered previously, that we have created previously. So all we want that the first letters, they should be having a bigger font size than the rest of these fonts being used over here.